Hi, CK, and welcome back.
Yeah, hi. Nice to be back again after the last video we spoke about. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. And the last video that we spoke about is hiring driving your business growth. And today we're going to talk about how do we create this high performance teams that can, in fact, again, fuel that business growth. So as CK and we were talking about this just earlier in the day, we realized that there's about 4 or 5 points that one needs to keep in mind while we are creating those high performance teams. This is, we're talking about clarity, talking about accountability, talking about systems and processes, and talking about inspiring leadership. And to kind of and cover all of these things, we're talking about creating a culture that supports a high performance teams. Okay, to start with, let's talk about clarity. What do we mean by clarity? Now, when we say clarity, we're talking about clarity on what are the job roles for our employees. The employee, your staff, your team knows what are they supposed to do, and what are their responsibility, whom are they going to be reporting to. So there's a lot of clarity that is required around here. And they are also focusing on about what do I need to do to be able to achieve my goals. How does my activity, my roles and responsibility contribute towards the organizational goals? So there's a clarity around that. There's a clarity around how can I do something which is extraordinary, over and above my roles and responsibility that will give me that higher level of recognition. There's a clarity that is required for the team so that they know exactly what they're doing and why they are doing it and what is the impact of that they're doing it. Now, with clarity, the second word that we thought was important is accountability, because it is just not enough to know what to do, but to be accountable for it. And that's where the extraordinary comes into place. So just meeting with your regular roles and responsibility is not enough to create a high performance team. So only once somebody takes on a complete accountability for their roles and responsibility for doing the best that they can for the organization as much as for the teams, and without having the management always having to look over their shoulder. So the self accountability, I think, is very, very important for a high performance team. TK, would you want to take on to the rest of them?
Yeah, so one word which I use for accountability, I tell my quite often when you're talking to some of my client teams, I said, look, is your team on autopilot mode or not? Right.
Nicely said.
I mean, in the sense, yeah, autopilot, because then your manager or your leader does not need to be, breathing down your nose and saying, has this happened? Has it happened? Why did it happen? Why did it not happen? So because then we know the teams are like self-managed groups and taking ownership for whatever they are supposed to be doing, whichever department or role that they're doing. So I think that clarity and accountability takes care of a lot of that. Right?
Got that.
Then comes the next part. I find that our earlier video we spoke about, is your busyness affecting your business? And quite often the entrepreneurs, and my own experience as an entrepreneur as well, and Neetu, I'm sure yours as well, that sometimes we get so bogged down with routine activities, routine operational activities, routine follow-ups, that the most important things get missed out, or the most important things get lost. That is where systems and processes come in so critically. Right? Mm-hmm. Always talk about entrepreneur is a dreamer, entrepreneur is somebody who's driven. And when you bring in good practices from corporate in terms of systems, structures, processes, right, it's a good marriage, and that marriage can work well, right, where people know that there is going to be a review with them every week, every Saturday or every Monday. It's a fixed review, it's a fixed agenda, points are discussed, minutes are captured. Then what happens is the clarity and accountability also gets measured. And I think that is where the systems and processes and every team member or leader gets time with the founder or the co-founder or the immediate leaders there, so that there's no communication gap. So I think systems, processes, reviews bring in that kind of binding of ensuring that everybody's moving the right direction at the right speed, focusing on the most critical areas, focusing on the top three priorities maybe, and not getting bogged down. So I think that is where the systems and processes piece comes in. And that leads us to the next topic about the importance of the leaders and the managers to be inspirational, right? Finding fault with somebody is the most easy thing to do. And he has not done this, she has not done this, you are supposed to do this, why didn't you do that? And that creates a very negative kind of atmosphere in the office. People don't look forward to their meetings with the managers or the leaders. And pressure gets passed on from the founder to the manager, manager to the team. And end of it, it's not a good place to be in. So I think the importance for the managers and the leaders to inspire their teams to the kind of vision that the organization is driving towards, right? We want to get this kind of a growth, or we want to achieve this kind of a result, or we want to cover this kind of a thing. We want to enjoy the successes that we want. So I think that is where this whole piece about, inspiring leadership is so important, right? Thinking about what will motivate the people, what will, people will want to go out and do more. I think Neetu, you could talk a little bit more about that in terms of how inspiring leadership along with the systems and processes can actually change the way the organization works.
Yes, I think this is a good one because as a smaller organization, when talking about leaderships, typically organizations lead, the leaders here lead from the front. They set an example, and a lot of it is unconscious leadership because people just follow what the leader is doing. And with the inspiring leadership and the systems and processes in place, this finds like a beautiful marriage between the two of them to ensure that when people are even following you, they're emulating you, they are picking up all your best habits. If you as a leader are following all those processes and systems, the rules, and say there's rules and this systems apply to me as much as my team, it's going to quickly cascade down the same way to the other to the rest of them. And what all of this is actually doing is creating that culture for your organization, the culture of high performance, the culture of people being involved, people emulating the leader, people being involved with the organization, the culture of the organizational goals getting cascaded to personal goals. So all of these things very nicely gets wrapped up in a ribbon if you are able to actually look at these 4 points that we spoke about. Clarity, we spoke about accountability, we spoke about rewards and
systems and processes.
Systems and processes, and then we spoke about the inspiring leadership. So all of these things, ultimately, the benefit is for the organization. And that is lower attrition, higher retention, higher performance for the organization, happier customers, and ultimately better revenues for the organization.
And for me, like I keep telling the entrepreneurs, the real test for me is, do your employees look forward to coming to office, right? Do they enjoy being there? Have you sort of provided the right kind of ambience and facilities for them? Is the experience that your employees have being part of your organization? I've seen people working in organizations for 10 years, 15 years, 12 years in many of the entrepreneur firms. I've also seen the other side where people leave in 1 year, 2 years, or less than that, right? So a lot of it is about the culture you create, because when you have a good employee experience, it automatically translates into a good customer experience.
Absolutely.
And when you have a good customer experience, it finally helps drive a lot of repeat business, and it also helps drive new business, drives growth. So end of the day, see, to me, growth is the end result. And people, right from the initial hiring to the managing of it, all the points that we spoke about today are so critical to business growth and high performance teams that you're talking about, high performance culture that we're talking about, right? So we hope that this video has sort of very briefly given you a glimpse of what are the 4 or 5 areas that you need to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, CK, and see you all again next week.